Dear brothers and sisters, today I want to talk about something very simple, yet very profound. The art of silence, the power of not explaining yourself to everyone, and why sometimes holding your peace is a greater strength than trying to justify your every action. You see, in today's world, there is this pressure. A pressure that whispers to us every day. Explain yourself, defend yourself, make them understand who you are, why you do what you do, and often we find ourselves exhausted, trying to convince others of our choices, our struggles, our intentions. But let me remind you, not everyone deserves to know your story. Not everyone is entitled to your explanation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with minds and hearts, with understanding and wisdom. But we live in a world that misunderstands, judges, and sometimes even delights in tearing others down. You don't need to explain why you forgive, why you abstain, why you choose patience over anger. Silence in such situations is not weakness, it is strength, it is dignity, it is wisdom. Think about this. When a person repeatedly tries to justify themselves, they are, in a way, giving others control over their emotions. If only they understood, they would agree with me. If only they saw my side, they would approve. Brothers and sisters, when we live like this, we hand over the power of our peace to others. And Allah wants our hearts to remain tranquil, our spirits firm, our dignity intact. There is a hadith in which the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, part of wisdom is knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. Sometimes silence protects your heart from unnecessary pain, your mind from confusion, and your relationships from toxicity. Now, I'm not saying you should never communicate or share your struggles, not at all. There are those who genuinely care, those who will guide you, those who will pray for you. But how often do we explain to people who are neither supportive nor trustworthy? How often do we try to justify ourselves to people whose minds are already made up? Isn't it better to save your energy, to focus on self-improvement, to invest in your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, rather than seek approval from every passerby? When you stop explaining your life unnecessarily, you start to notice something beautiful. Your inner peace increases. Your self-respect grows. Your time is no longer consumed by trying to convince others, but is spent in reflection, gratitude, and action. And Allah loves those who are patient, those who are content, and those who maintain dignity even when misunderstood. Remember this, silence does not mean you are weak. Silence does not mean you are hiding. Silence is a shield. Silence is a statement. Silence is strength. Your life is yours. Your journey is yours. And it does not require the validation of every critic, every neighbor, or every distant acquaintance. So, my brothers and sisters, guard your peace. Protect your heart. Speak when it is necessary. Act when it is beneficial. And remain silent when it is wiser. Let your actions speak louder than words. Let your character shine brighter than explanations. And let your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be your guide, for He is the only one who truly knows your heart, your struggles, and your intentions. Silence is strength, not weakness. Choosing not to explain yourself to everyone preserves your dignity, protects your heart, and shows wisdom. Speaking less can often communicate more than endless justifications. Silence is often misunderstood in our world today. Many people think that remaining quiet is a sign of weakness or passivity, but in reality, silence is one of the greatest forms of strength a person can possess. There is an incredible power in knowing when to speak and when to remain silent, and it is this very strength that can protect a person's heart, mind, and dignity. When we constantly feel the need to explain ourselves to others, we are allowing our energy, our peace, and even our self-respect to be dictated by someone else's understanding or lack of it. Not everyone will understand your choices, your struggles, or the intentions behind your actions, and that is okay. You are not required to prove yourself to every critic, every observer, or every acquaintance who questions your life. Imagine a life where you are continuously justifying your decisions. Every action, every choice, every word becomes an opportunity for someone to misunderstand you, judge you, or even criticize you unfairly. Over time, this constant need for explanation becomes exhausting. You start to live not for yourself, not for your own growth, not for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but for the approval of people who may never truly understand you. This is why silence is so powerful. Silence allows you to safeguard your peace. It allows you to remain firm in your convictions without being swayed by the opinions of others. When you choose silence, you choose to rise above unnecessary conflict, gossip, and judgment. You choose to focus your energy on what truly matters, your character, your actions, and your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is also a dignity in silence that cannot be achieved through endless explanations. When a person speaks less, others often recognize their maturity, their self-control, and their wisdom. Silence communicates confidence. It communicates that you do not need the validation of everyone around you to feel worthy or justified. In fact, when you remain silent in the face of misunderstanding or criticism, you often leave a stronger impression than words ever could. People may try to challenge you, question you, or even spread rumors, but your silence demonstrates a calm strength that words often fail to convey. Silence allows your actions to speak louder than your explanations ever could, and actions in their own way reveal the truth far more effectively than any argument. Moreover, silence protects the heart. When we constantly explain ourselves, we open our hearts to judgment, disappointment, and sometimes betrayal. Not everyone who hears your story will support you. Some may twist your words, misunderstand your intentions, or use your explanations against you. By choosing silence, you shield your heart from unnecessary pain. You prevent your mind from being consumed by the endless cycle of trying to convince people, and you create space to focus on what truly matters, building patience, strengthening faith, and nurturing personal growth. Silence is not just the absence of words, it is the presence of wisdom and self-respect. It is also important to remember that silence does not mean isolation or avoidance. It is not about running away from communication or hiding from the world. Rather, it is a conscious choice to speak when it is necessary and meaningful, and to remain silent when words would serve no purpose. This selective silence allows a person to prioritize energy, time, and effort in the right places. It helps us cultivate discernment about who deserves our trust and attention and who does not. By remaining silent in certain situations, we demonstrate maturity, patience, and the ability to rise above trivial matters. Finally, silence is an act of faith. It shows trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, trust that He knows our struggles, sees our intentions, and rewards us for our patience and restraint. When we stop seeking validation from every human being and instead focus on living with integrity and sincerity, we experience a sense of inner peace that no amount of explanation could ever provide. Silence becomes a shield, a source of strength, and a sign of reliance upon Allah. It allows us to live with dignity, to act with wisdom, and to focus on what truly matters in our lives. In conclusion, silence is far from weakness. It is a deliberate, wise, and powerful choice. It protects your heart, preserves your peace, and elevates your character. When you choose silence over unnecessary explanation, you are not hiding, you are demonstrating strength. You are showing patience, wisdom, and self-respect. You are living your life with dignity, focusing on your journey and trusting that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees your heart, knows your intentions, and will guide you towards what is best. Silence is indeed strength, and those who understand this will find a peace and confidence that words alone could never give. Don't hand others control over your peace. Constantly explaining your life gives others power over your emotions and decisions. True peace comes when you live for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and focus on self-improvement rather than seeking approval from everyone. When we constantly feel the need to explain ourselves to others, we are, in a way, giving them control over our emotions, over our peace, and even over our decisions. This is something that many people do without realizing it. We think that if we can just make someone understand our choices, they will accept us, approve of us, or at least stop criticizing us. But the truth is that seeking approval from everyone around us is a path that leads to exhaustion, frustration, and disappointment. Life is too short and our energy too precious to spend it trying to satisfy every critic or passerby who feels entitled to judge our journey. By handing over control of our emotions to others, we lose the power that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed within us to live peacefully and with dignity. When we allow other people to dictate how we feel about ourselves, we are essentially giving them the keys to our happiness. Imagine this: every time someone disagrees with you, judges you, or misunderstands you, you feel anger, sadness, or anxiety. If you have spent your life trying to justify your choices, you are letting their opinions become the measure of your self-worth. But this is not how we were created to live. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us hearts and minds capable of discernment, reflection, and trust in Him. Our focus should not be on convincing others, but on maintaining our own peace, nurturing our character, and seeking the pleasure of Allah through our intentions and actions. When we do this, we no longer become prisoners to the opinions of others. Instead, we become masters of our own hearts. It is important to understand that not everyone has the capacity to see things from your perspective. Some people are clouded by their own biases, experiences, and misunderstandings. Some will judge out of ignorance or even jealousy. Trying to explain yourself to such people is like pouring water into a cup that already has holes. No matter how much effort you put in, it will never satisfy them or fill the void. Recognizing this truth is liberating because it teaches us that our peace and happiness are not dependent on external validation. True freedom comes when we take back control of our emotions and stop trying to win the approval of everyone around us. When we stop explaining ourselves unnecessarily, we also stop wasting time and energy that could be used for personal growth, reflection, and meaningful action. Instead of focusing on what others think, we can focus on what truly matters, building our character, strengthening our faith, and fulfilling our responsibilities. Every moment spent trying to justify yourself to someone who will never understand is a moment taken away from your own growth and your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By choosing silence in these situations, we reclaim our time, our energy, and our emotional balance. Furthermore, learning to stop giving people control over your emotions is an act of self-respect. It shows that you value your peace more than the fleeting opinions of others. It demonstrates maturity and wisdom because you recognize that you cannot please everyone, and that your worth is not determined by the approval of strangers. You begin to understand that it is okay for people to misunderstand you, to judge you, or even to speak against you. What matters is your intention, your sincerity, and your ability to remain steadfast in the face of criticism. When your actions align with your values and your heart remains sincere, you no longer need endless explanations to prove who you are. Finally, this concept is deeply rooted in faith. When we trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows our intentions and sees the efforts we make, we no longer feel compelled to justify ourselves to people who cannot fully comprehend our journey. Our focus shifts from seeking validation from the world to seeking contentment in the sight of Allah. This trust brings an inner peace that is unmatched by any external approval. It allows us to live with dignity, to make decisions with confidence, and to remain emotionally balanced regardless of what others think or say. In essence, not giving others control over your emotions is a form of freedom, a shield for your heart, and a source of immense strength. It allows you to live authentically, to prioritize what truly matters, and to invest your energy in what benefits you spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. By breaking the habit of explaining yourself to everyone, you reclaim your power, your peace, and your purpose. You begin to realize that your happiness is yours to protect, your emotions are yours to govern, and your life is yours to live with integrity and faith. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the wisdom to know when to speak, when to remain silent, and the courage to protect our hearts from unnecessary explanations. Ameen.